Whoa. Hey guys, I'm Brian with Fort Knox Company, and I'm going to show you how to install an in-ground basketball hoop. So this is a full-size basketball hoop from SBX. I think it's through Silverback. I found a good deal on this and I want to put it in the backyard for the kids. This one does go in the ground and there's a couple different methods. This one has the pole that actually goes into the concrete in the ground. So I'm going to show you how to do that, everything to look out for. Don't make some of the same mistakes that maybe I made, and I'm going to walk you guys through every step of it. First thing we got to do is assemble the middle section and the bottom section, and you're going to put a couple bolts in here. This is so that we can actually mark the front. This is very important because when we actually cement this into the ground, you're not going to be able to make any adjustments afterwards. So we got to make sure that the front is marked clearly. So even though you may be able to remember where the bolts are, they ask you to do this and put a piece of tape on there and mark it and say front. That way, when you go to the later steps and you put it in the ground, you'll know exactly which way is exactly forward. You're also going to be marking 14 inches from the bottom because that is where we're going to make sure we have that line level with our ground surface or our court surface, plus this stabilizing rod that goes in the middle. All that needs to be at your ground level and below. So we're going to mark 14 inches from the bottom, and we're also going to put a piece of tape on the front center marking front. They say to run a string line from the top bolt all the way down the center just to kind of see visually, but I found that it was really easy. It went together, the bolts went in as they should. The centerpiece has stickers on it that say warning and other stuff on it, so you'll be able to kind of see which is front. The directions are pretty clear on that. So mark the front, then we can move on to the next step, which is setting up this stabilizing rod. It's a system I think that they have unique to them that helps make the pole, after you get it all set up, more rigid. This is a silver rod that goes down the middle of the base section. There's these two little plastic brackets. There's two little holes on the silver rod, and you're going to put these two screws in there, and it kind of helps hold it. And this really just centers it in place inside the base so that when you do put it in the ground, that rod is down the middle, because later we will fill that up with some concrete. So you just put the brackets on there with these two screws. Then we're going to slide it in through the base. Again, the directions are pretty clear, but there's one little hole at the bottom, and this kind of just secures it temporarily. So there's a small hole at the bottom that we need to line up with one of those plastic brackets, and we're going to put the screw through the base, through that. Then we have our rod kind of set up there. Then we can move on to the next step, which is actually figuring out where we're going to mount this. In my backyard, we have a RV garage that I'm going to use as my backside. It kind of helps with keeping the ball in play. It also is in a good direction with the sun. The sun will be shining towards the basketball hoop, so that way the sun will always kind of be on your back when you're shooting. So just some planning ahead is good if you're able to and you have the space. Figure out which way the sun's shining. Maybe you don't want the sun in your eyes all the time. Just kind of play with what you have. But in my situation, it works where we have the sun to our back, and I also have this wall up behind it. So this is where we're going to figure out where we're going to mount it. I want to center it in the space that I have. I'm at about 24 feet wide, maybe a little bit more on this driveway area. So I'm just going to center it there at about 12 feet from both sides, but we need to make sure that we can make the hole big enough. The hole needs to be 18 inches wide by 24 inches deep. So where we're going to do this, I have just enough room. It's going to be between the concrete pad and the foundation of the house, so it will be very stable once it's all in place. Make sure you have enough room for it. 18 inches wide, 24 inches deep. This is where you do not want to skimp out. They do recommend that you dig this thing deep enough, and I maybe took 30 minutes to do it. I used a breaker bar through part of it because we have some caliche clay out here in Las Vegas. So of course there was some of that where I was digging, but about 30 minutes, dig it all out, measure it. That 14-inch line, I kind of measured up against the pole to make sure that where it was going to sit, it would be low enough. They do ask you before you pour in concrete that you put some type of pad at the bottom. I believe this gives you a stable place to mark so that when you do fill it with concrete and you put the pole down, there's no chance of it sinking or adjusting afterwards. So I was able to put 2 paver pads at the bottom, and that raised it up to the exact depth that I need to be level with my plane surface. But do not skimp out on this part. They also ask that at the bottom of the hole, you kind of flare out the edges. This helps that when you put the concrete in, it actually will help stabilize it if there is any side to side or movement from the wind. It'll help kind of keep that concrete base really stable there. So flare out the bottoms a little bit, 18 by 24. Then we can move on to the next step, which is mixing our concrete. Real quick, if you haven't already, hit like on the video. I really appreciate it. It does help me out. I also have a website up where I make t-shirts, just kind of fun. I do my own design. designs and I print everything myself. Check it out down there in the video description, but it's one way you can support me in the channel. Either way, if you could just hit like for me, I'd really appreciate it. Now, here's where I would say you do need to plan ahead, because I only had about 6 or 7 bags of concrete on hand. I thought that'd be totally enough. I ended up using 9. So maybe my hole was a little bit bigger, maybe my calculations were off, but I would say err on the side of caution. Get 9 or 10 bags of concrete and you can return them or save them later. But the last thing you want to do is be halfway through this and not have enough concrete in the hole and have to run to the store while this is setting up, and it kind of ruins the whole process. So have more than you need on hand, and you can mix this ready mix concrete you can get at any box store. I just used the pre-made that you just add water to, mix it up in a bucket or a barrel. I used a wheelbarrow, and then we're just going to dump it in, and just after a couple rotations of mixing 2 bags at a time, I was able to get the hole about 3/4 of the way full before I ran out and had to go get a couple more bags. But luckily I had enough concrete in there to be able to set the pole in place and let it kind of actually stay as it was and level it out. I used 2 levels because I just had them on hand. You can use 1 level, but if you're able to, use 2, put 1 on each side of it, then you can make sure that it's plumb vertically, both directions, and then you can let it sit as it is. They do recommend that maybe you put some cribbing around it, like some 2x4 blocks, and then maybe put some sandbags on it. But again, these are a lot of things that you might need ahead of time that you may not have on hand. From my experience, I didn't need to use any of that. When you mix the concrete and you start to pour it into this hole, let it sit for a few minutes, put the pole in there and kind of see where we're at. You'll see that sometimes the concrete will start to set up just enough to be firm, and you can stabilize that pole, make minor adjustments, and as long as it's not windy, it will sit where it is. No one touches it and you should be okay. But again, depending on where you're at and the weather, just plan ahead to have those things there to help stabilize it. But I was able to set it in place and just kind of let it sit on its own. As I went and got more concrete, I was able to come back and fill it up to the top, and I just used a hand trowel to kind of smooth it all out. But again, this is where I have another video on mixing concrete and doing like concrete pads, so I'll tag that in the video description if you need any help with working with concrete. But it's nothing too crazy, and even though I didn't spend a lot of time on it, the finished surface still came out pretty good. But I'll tag that video there in the bottom for you in case you want to look at that regarding concrete. And as we're setting this base pole into the concrete, there's a couple very important steps that we do not want to look over. Make sure that this is centered. If you have a wall behind where you're working like I do not get it within 11 or 12 inches of that surface. Don't ask me how I know, but I would say give yourself at least 12 or more inches from the back of that pole, because this allows you later on for the movement of the backboard up and down. There is some moving parts. You also have a turn rod that kind of like helps you crank it up and down. If you do not have proper clearance, it'll make it very difficult for you to do this. Again, learn from my mistakes. I have just enough clearance with 11 inches, but it's very, very tight. So if you have the space and you have some type of wall surface behind, just bring that base pole forward enough. I would measure at least 12 to 13 inches off that back surface so that you're clear. If it's open in the back, you have nothing to worry about. Just center it in your hole, center it in the concrete there. But this is one of those steps where once it's set, there's no going back from it. But just make sure that you have proper clearance behind this as you're setting the pole in place. And you also want to make sure that that mark on the front where we put that tape there, it says front, make sure that it is centered, facing completely forward. I also put a screw in that hole that's centered there, just so I could kind of visually see exactly perpendicular to the surface or the court that we have in front of us. I want to make sure that it's exactly forward, and also the tape that we put on the front helps. So this is where we want to make sure it's centered or in the proper position with clearance, and that the pole is facing forward. Now you do want to let this sit for at least 24 hours. It says 48 hours before we start playing on it. After you let that sit for about 24 hours, we can come back and go on to the next step, which is actually filling that base rod with a little bit of concrete. We're going to mix about half a bag of concrete, and I just used a little hand shovel. I mixed this concrete a little bit more watery so that it would flow in easier, but this, we're just going to fill up that base. But we want to make sure that we put the bolts in these little screw holes around the top there, because one, we're not going to fill past those, but two, as you're pouring concrete in there, we don't want to actually get any concrete in those threads, because that will obviously make it difficult to put the thing together at the end. So make sure we put those screws in there. This will save the space in those threaded areas. Fill it up just above or right to where that silver rod sits. This is just below the line of those threaded screw holes. Then we can remove those screws, let this sit again, or we can can even move on to the next step, which is assembling it. But it does recommend that you let this sit and again stabilize. You should be okay continuing to assemble this while that concrete sits there in the base. So now we just have a couple more steps of assembling this whole thing. We're going to put that center piece on top of the base, put those 6 bolts around the side. This comes with a wrench that you can put those in, but there is 3 little set screws that are self-tapping. This is nice because it helps kind of secure it where it sits. So you're going to drill these in from the back, and they are self-tapping screws. There's 3 little holes in the back. I used a different drill with a higher RPM so that we could actually drill through, but it went right through the metal, no problem. Then we're going to put the top piece on. This has the other rods or bars on it that's going to have the threads. This is where we start to put the whole backboard assembly on. This also has a cap or rounded position. They're very easy to identify. So put the top piece on, and this goes on just like the center section. 6 bolts around the side, 3 tapping screws on the back. Now we can go ahead and assemble the lower portion of the backboard assembly. There's 2 bars that face forward, and they actually have the sticker on it here that are identified. It says Silverback on it. Again, the instructions are very clear, and they're very literal with how they show where they should go or which way they should face. There's these 2 plastic caps that go on. We slide the bar on, and then we have a washer and nut assembly. Here we're going to be using a 19mm socket, so just get a 19mm. We can tighten these down. It says to tighten to snug and then come back off it just a little bit. These are self-locking nuts. Don't make it too loose to where the assembly wobbles. So I tightened it down, but not too much, because that plastic bushing or that plastic little bracket, it will crack if you over tighten it. So tighten it to snug and then come off of it just a quarter turn. There is then this little U bracket that goes up towards the front of this. It goes in with 2 bolts on each side. You have your bolt, your washers, and your nuts again. This here we use a 13mm socket, so I have a wrench and socket to tighten these down. This helps stabilize that whole lower assembly. Then we're going to move up to the upper assembly, and it goes together in a very similar process where we have the plastic brackets. Then we're going to put the washers and nuts on. Same thing, tighten them down, come back a quarter turn. Then we're going to put that bracket in between there on the front, and again 4 bolts, washers, and nuts go on this. Now we have the assembly that actually holds the backboard on where the rim goes. This is a big square metal plate. It has a big bolt that goes through it with a washer and nut assembly, but this did go on pretty easy. I had to kind of angle it on, but it should fit on there. You slide the bolt through, tighten it down, very straightforward. But this is where we're later going to put the backboard on and then our rim assembly. Now we can move over to the backboard. There's 2 little metal brackets that we put on. This does matter how you put these on. You can see based off the diagram that the plate goes on the inside of the metal bracket on the back of the backboard. And again, 2 bolts, washers and nut assembly, but make sure that they're on the inside. And this is kind of critical because we don't want them to be too spaced or too tight. So they do go on the inside of the metal brackets. It is pictured in the directions as well, but make sure you're paying attention to which side of the bracket we're putting the metal plates on. Now we can go ahead and put the backboard up and in place. This I did do myself, but if you have somebody to help you, definitely call upon a friend. It is not too heavy. This is a composite plastic backboard, so it's not super heavy. But if you're installing a full-size glass backboard, it could be pretty heavy here, so definitely call upon a friend. But I was able to do it by myself. I lined up the holes, and then I used a rubber mallet because it was a very tight fit, and I just tapped it in there to not cause any damage to the backboard. But I just got it on far enough. Then I threaded a nut on 2 of the threaded portions just to kind of hold it in place while I went and got the rim assembly, and then I could also line up some of the brackets on the back. Now while that's sitting there, we're going to put the upper bracket on the backboard here. This is going to attach to those 2 metal plates that we just installed. We're going to put a nut and bolt assembly through there. Once this is all kind of attached, you should see now that the backboard is in place and stabilized. We can then go forward and start to assemble and put together the rim. The rim kind of goes on in the same fashion that the backboard did. We want to make sure that the threaded portions where the rim goes on is actually pushed all the way through the backboard. So this is where I use that rubber mallet again, just to make sure that it's seated all the way down. And this goes on just as you think it would. It fits right over those 4 holes. I tapped it down with the rubber mallet because again, it was a tight fit, but I put the nut and bolts on there. But here we have a washer and nut assembly. Make sure that we tighten these down evenly. I kind of did the 2 corners first and then put the other 2 on. Make sure this is all tightened down. Then there is a cover plate that goes on, and this is held in by 4 screws. Again, very straightforward. It slides on there, and just with the screwdriver, I believe it's a Phillips head, we're just going to secure it in place. And this is simply just a cover underneath the basketball hoop. The last part of this process is actually putting on the bracket that helps move up and down the backboard. There's a little bracket that goes in the back with 2 bolts right through the center on the front. Then we're going to go up to the top. There's a lift assembly, which is kind of like a screwing mechanism. There's 1 bolt that goes through it up top. Just center that there. It slides kind of across that bolt. Then you're going to have to probably extend it, which is just winding. I actually just did it by hand, but if you want to put the crankshaft on there, you can do that. But you're going to extend it until until it lines up with the base bracket that you just put on, and we're gonna slide a bolt through that. And the handle comes on and off easily, so if you're not gonna be raising or lowering the backboard a lot, you can take it off and put it away. Probably just so it doesn't get damaged or lost or maybe beat up by the sun or the weather. But I'm probably gonna leave it at a lower level here, which is right at about 7 feet. And these things go all the way up to about that 10-foot level. But the adjustment is very easy. But again, you gotta make sure that you have your pole set far enough from any surface behind it so that the handle doesn't hit and those brackets, as they're rotating on the back of the backboard, don't hit. Again, don't ask me how I know this. The last and final step now is just putting on your net. This thing comes with a cloth or cotton net. It's very easy to put on, just work your way around and then we're ready to go. You can start playing with the family and the kids. Right now, this is kind of like a hit at the house. Every day the kids want to go out and play, and it's fun to kind of go out there and just let them burn off some energy, or just go outside and enjoy the good weather and play around with the kids. So if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. If you like the video, make sure you hit like. Consider subscribing to my channel. I got a lot of familiar content on here as far as DIY and how-to projects around the house. Either way, I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys on the next build.